I honestly thought that I might have to shoot my way out.
Welcome to the Ladies of Tellico Village. This show features interviews with some of the most fascinating and talented women living right here in Tellico Village. Sit back and enjoy this episode brought to you by the volunteers at Tellico Village Network. I'm Joan Dorsey, and this is the 14th episode of the Ladies of Tellico Village. And my guest today is one of those amazing women that retired to the village. I'd like to welcome Robin Francisco. Your career really started farther from Tellico Village than most of the ladies I've had on the show, way out in Oxnard, California. You went on to college. What college did you attend?
George Mason University.
The minute you got out of college, one of the first things you did is run down the street and tap on the door of the FBI, and what did they tell you?
Well, they basically told me that I needed to go out and get 3 years of experience before I could even apply. I ended up applying to several different law enforcement agencies and was ultimately hired by the United States Capitol Police.
What did they train you in?
Initially, you will go to training for 4 months in Glencoe, Georgia. So you get trained in everything from defensive tactics to shooting. You learn the law, everything you could possibly need to prepare you for becoming an officer.
After you finished that, you were there for about how long?
Almost 8 years.
Okay, so then did you go down the street again and tap on the door again?
Not yet. I basically fulfilled what I wanted to do as a police officer, and that was become a canine handler.
Had you handled any dogs in any other way prior to that?
Nothing.
You didn't grow up with a dog even?
Well, I had dogs as pets, but I never ever utilized them in that manner.
When they finally let you apply, what are some of the qualifications the FBI has to become basically an FBI agent?
So you have to have an experience of some sort in some field for at least 3 years. I also had my criminal justice background, plus I had almost 8 years with Capitol Police.
Is the training there, I assume some of it's intellectual, but is it also kind of militaristic?
It's very physical. You actually stay on the campus at the FBI Academy. Literally for the first 4 weeks, you cannot leave the campus. You have to stay on the campus. So yes, it's very regimented.
How many people were in your class?
50.
And what was the ratio of men and women?
In our class of 50, we had 6 women.
How long does it take to graduate from that program?
Well, it's a 16-week program. And then after the 16 weeks, you are assigned to your first office.
Is there a test at the end? What is the requirement to become graduated?
On day 2, you are tested physically, and they put you through sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, running. You have to go through defensive tactics. All of these are stages that you go through in the FBI in order to graduate within that 16-week period. In essence, I call it going back to college because you are tested in everything from white collar to criminal, everything you could possibly think of. You are prepared by the time you graduate in 16 weeks. You have to literally go through physical testing the entire way through. So on that second day, if you did not pass that physical fitness test, you automatically go into a different classification, and those folks, I can tell you, out of our class of 50, 26 people failed the test. So all 26 people were literally having to get up by 6 a.m. every morning to work with the physical fitness instructors.
Once you were a FBI agent, your badge or that thing you show people, what kinds of things did they send you out to do? What were you assigned to?
In the beginning, you are ranking the offices of choice where you want to go from 1 to 56. I got my 43rd choice, which was San Francisco. Okay. So I then go out to San Francisco and you're assigned to a specific unit. My unit was FCI, which is Foreign Counterintelligence. I spent approximately 2 weeks doing that because that was something that did not interest me in any way, shape, or form, and I was assigned to work North Korea. Well, as you can see, I'm blonde hair, blue-eyed, and it was going to become extremely difficult for me to even get a source in that arena. So what I did is I went to the SAC, who runs the division, and talked to him about who I was and what my background was, and if I could please get on a reactive squad or something that would allow me to use the canine that I brought to San Francisco with me.
Was this the first dog that you'd been assigned to?
It was.
And what was the dog's name?
His name was Jello von die Tilke-Heissen.
Jello. Okay. And that dog was with you 24/7? Is
Yes.
that how that works? How long did you have that particular dog?
So I worked with him on the street in Washington, D.C. for 6 years. Then I got hired by the FBI. Capitol Police gave the dog to me. And by the time I got to San Francisco, he was now 7.
You went to an area and you became a bomb expert.
After I put Jello down due to age, I went and bought another German Shepherd in hopes that he would become the next dog in San Francisco. And I was given approval by San Francisco, but headquarters said, no, if she wants another dog, she has to become a bomb tech.
Did you have to go through any new training with dogs, or were you all set just to go?
You do training all along throughout that year to keep your dog where he needs to be.
What are some of the breeds that they've been able to use in lieu of German Shepherds?
Malinois, they use Labs, they use Jack Russells, they use any type of dog that has a high energy drive that they know will work for you.
How old are they when they start their training, most of these dogs?
Usually they don't start the training until they're at least a year old.
Okay.
But ideally, if you can start the training anywhere from 14 months to 24 months, because the dogs are then mature, they've filled into their bodies, and they'll work for you a lot better.
And how long is the training program?
So the training program, when I was with Capitol Police, bomb school for the dogs was 12 weeks. If the dogs completed bomb school, then they would go on to street school, which includes protection. It includes everything also from building searches, tracking, article search. That's 14 weeks.
How many years can a dog really work before they retire them?
It depends on the amount of work and what type of work that dog has done. On average, we hope to get 6 to 8 years.
And when they're retired, where do they go?
Most police officers and/or agents will take that dog because they've been with you for their entire life.
One of the big training programs is sniffing.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit how a dog is trained to sniff drugs, for instance, or do bombs have an odor? What's in a bomb?
The difference between explosives and narcotics, they're going to train the same way. You're going to ultimately play with these dogs with actual explosives in pouches. They will do the same with narcotics. So as you're playing fetch with these dogs, that odor is getting entrenched into their nose. Okay. So after a certain period of time, when the dog has been introduced to new odors, we'll then place them, bury them in the ground, put them in high places, low places, vehicles, whatever you can possibly think of.
How do they train a dog to locate and sniff deceased people?
Same way. They have a body farm here in Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
And so handlers will literally bring their dogs here and run the course. They may stay a week, they may stay 2 weeks. It really depends on how quickly the dogs can pick up that particular odor.
Have you had any, as a bomb expert, whether with or without a dog, have you had any really accidents or really bad scares because of bombs?
Yes, in my career as a bomb tech in San Francisco, we had a lot of major cases to the extent that we would respond for anything and everything that would happen. So it could be remote devices, pipe bombs, primitive devices. I did 3 tours overseas in Afghanistan, 1 in Pakistan. All of those were as a bomb tech.
With your dog?
Not with the dog. Because the military has their own canine unit.
Okay.
My dog stayed at home in the U.S. I simply went over as a bomb tech to support our military.
Were you trained then to take a bomb apart, or is that a whole nother thing?
When you become a bomb tech, you go to school in Huntsville, Alabama. It is the FBI school. So we train all of the bomb techs throughout the country.
Okay.
And that's another 7 weeks of nothing but learning how to defeat explosive devices, build explosive devices.
Have you worked any famous cases where we might recognize the circumstances or something?
I have, but those are still cases that we're not talking about. And when they do finally come to adjudication, then...
Okay. What's the scariest thing you've ever had to do as a bomb expert or as an agent?
Scariest thing for me was on my second tour in Afghanistan. Karzai, the president of Afghanistan, asked for our assistance to come in and process a post-blast crime scene where one of his military hierarchy was killed by a suicide bomber. I had to get to a certain part of Afghanistan. By the time I got there, the convoy had already left. So they had left me to be with the Afghan army, of which don't speak English. And now my intention is to hopefully hook up with the convoy where all of my other bomb techs and the US military is. So for me, it took almost 2 hours to get there. And at one point, I started basically checking all the ammunition on my body and the weapons, because I honestly thought that I might have to shoot my way out.
Oh my goodness. Tell me about the Black Bag Squad.
So my last 7 years in the FBI, I decided to go work for a unit called the Tactical Operations Section. I was part of the Black Bag Squad. In essence, what happens is there's 7 different units that make up this squad. We go in and we work the high value targets within the United States, but under the cover of a sealed warrant. We would come into a particular city, and if the actual target was not in pocket, meaning that the agents were supposed to keep this target in their view 100% of the time, and let's say we enter a home or a business or something along those lines, and if we go in and someone's there and we didn't know it, if that person were to pull out a weapon, shoot us, hit us, whatever, that would be a legal shoot for that person.
You talked about some physicals and even at some point intellectual tests that agents have to take.
Twice a year, you literally have to do the same physical fitness test that you did entering the FBI. So you have to pass that test. You also have to pass a firearms qualification 4 times a year. In addition to that, you have to be polygraphed every 5 years. The polygraph, in essence, is they hook a bunch of wires up to you and ask you questions to see whether or not you have compromised your position in the FBI.
When you decided to retire, are there some prerequisites, things you have to do in retirement, documents you have to sign, things that are no-nos for you, such as hopefully not doing a television show in Tellico-Village? Are there any requirements to retire that are different than retiring from being an English teacher, say?
Yes, so if you want to put yourself in a position to write a book or go on to another agency, you have to sign non-disclosures. If you want to write a book, you have to get permission from the FBI to do so.
Okay. Did you have to get permission to do this today?
I did not.
Okay, all right.
We're stepping out of the studio for a moment so that I can bring you to my I Love Me room. First thing we're going to see is where my bomb tech career started in 1999. We have a picture of my class, my graduating class, as well as another certificate that's near and dear to me, where I attended the NATO School for Explosives in England. As we move from this onto this, it is my thin blue line board where I have basically challenge coins from all over the world as well as the country. And it is a basically a gesture of acceptance from bomb tech to bomb tech. And these coins were all given to me by another bomb tech, as well as these are some of the badges that I wore for inaugurations, Super Bowls, and the Olympics when they were in Salt Lake City. From there, we're going to come over here, and this wall basically contains all of the certificates from my tours in Afghanistan. And the one that I honestly cherish the most is that I was actually given the National Intelligence Meritorious Unit Citation. This is near and dear to my heart, and it just basically proved to me that when we were in Afghanistan, we were making good changes for their future as well as ours. And now let's go back to the studio.
3 years ago, you came to Tellico Village. My listeners always want to know how my guests found Tellico Village.
Well, ironically, in my last 7 years, I had come to Knoxville quite a bit. So I knew what the area looked like. I knew that it was beautiful. And I was looking for a home where my pension would not be taxed. In essence, Tennessee is one of those states that does not do that, and I knew I could live comfortably here. So in retirement, I decided to start playing golf. So loving golf, loving the water, I went on the internet and did a Google search for lakes and golf. Tellico Village came out in the top 10.
You started a new activity, though.
I did.
An activity when I moved here, I saw, and I thought they were making a movie or something from the olden days. You became a member of a dragon boat team.
I did.
What does a dragon boat team person do?
I had no idea what it was either. And a friend of mine that I golf with asked if I would be interested. I went to a meeting, and ultimately I said, I'm in. A dragon boat is basically 22 people on a boat. To include in that 22, you have a steerer in the back of the boat, you have a drummer in the front of the boat, and then you've got 10 people that sit on the left side, 10 people that sit on the right side, and each one of you paddles that boat down the river.
Do we have a number of boats here that are owned by the club, or where do the boats come from?
Tellico Village just bought their very first boat this season. They had been renting one boat. Last year when I started, we had maybe 80 people that were part of the club. This year, because of our success, we had, I believe, 105 that actually joined the club.
Do you often have kind of matches with them and competitions?
Well, now that we have 2 boats here in Tellico, we will actually race against each other, which makes it much more advantageous for our teams because we can get a better workout in.
Ready?
Are the oars owned by you, or do they come with the boat?
Everything you have, all your gear is provided by you with the exception of the dragon boat.
And there are people that don't row that they specialize in beating the drum or steering.
Shrummer, ultimately you'd like to have someone that's 100 pounds or less. The lighter the boat, the better the boat will actually glide on the lake.
Just last month, you went to a competition that was in Spain.
I did.
So what kinds of things did you do in Spain?
They had approximately 60 people from 5 different countries. The coaches were the coaches from the USA team. And for that entire 8 days, you did nothing but train and become a better paddler. And then you would race against each other until Saturday. Well, when then Saturday rolled in, more teams from Spain and across that region showed up to actually compete against our 3 boats.
And how did you do?
Actually, I was on a women's 22 boat, and we came in first. Our mixed boat, we came in second. Spain has got some very, very tough competition, and to be honest, they were phenomenal. So they pretty much took the gold in most of the events, but we took the gold in our women's 22 and we took a silver.
Do you
in the
each
mixed.
get a gold medal?
In the women's, yes, you get a gold medal. In the mixed they actually give you a beautiful trophy to take home.
And you didn't have trouble getting those through custom? Okay.
Just my wine.
I want to talk about your dog. He was just a wonderful dog. What's his name?
Dozer.
Any significance to that name?
Not really. Honestly, I was on the golf course. I wanted to come up with a creative name, and we were at Kahiti. There was a construction crew building a new home, and I saw a bulldozer, and I thought, Dozer.
Oh, that's wonderful.
He's going to be well over 100 pounds. He's going to be a very big boy.
And he's long-haired.
And he's my very first.
Very fierce-looking.
Yes.
And the other little snippet, he went in the kitchen. You came in with like a Dixie cup full of ice cream, and he got down and put it between his paws, and he had his ice cream. This has been fun. I've really enjoyed hearing about the FBI. It's just a wonderful career, and I so envy your youth and your gumption to be able to do it. I'd like to thank all of you for listening, and thank all the volunteers at Tellico Village Network. And tune in again. And if you know a lady that can qualify as an unusual, remarkable lady of Tellico Village, you call me. I'm in the directory.